Hello, hello! Let's talk about the new solo raid, Egovista. So, the first good boss, the first good solo raid since Providence. Took a while, but here we are. An actual boss that requires you to actually pay attention to some extent. And a bit of RNG when it comes down to one team. Before we start, I will mention this. You can see how wildly different the damage here is. Pardon the fucking quality, but the point is, one of them is my ult, one of them is my main. Your performance with Neon will be vastly just swinging around depending on how good your Neon is. If your Neon has enough damage, you can then break parts. Breaking parts give you bonus damage, and also it means you just have more HP to tap into, because the parts are not permanently around. So, you know, with Summer and East, you should be always able to break them if you're... sorry, not Summer and East. What the fuck am I saying? Over Spec and East, Force of Habit, I suppose. With Over Spec and East, you should be able to constantly break, but with Neon, it's a little more difficult. Because the thing with Neon is that she's relying on firepower being fully charged to actually break the parts. And your Neon needs to actually have the stat to back it up. My Neon and my ult is garbage. But to be honest, even if I had my 4th elemental roll, even if I had like 2 more attack lines, I don't know if I would consistently break some of them. I would not break all of them like my main does. And because I break them all the time, well, no, I think I break them 3 out of 4 times in the 4.9 billion run. That is a massive damage increase overall. So, just something to note, if you're wondering why your Neon is either much better or much worse than one of these, this is why. Your Neon's performance really do matter, your merges really do matter for that one. But, you know, even with that said, your overload matters more. So, it is what it is. Honestly, like, unironically, if I did the same damage as my main for that team, my ult would be about in the same ballpark. I would be hitting 21 billion, and they did 21.3, because, yeah, or my main did 21.3, because, yeah, that's literally just the one team difference making most of that. If you care, this is what my main teams and damage look like. Alright. And, alright. So, I will say this in advance. My Ein on the alt is way better, but my Ada on the main is way better. So that's why it kind of cancels each other out. But, yeah. Another thing is that this is the actual Miranda, Ada, and Ein comp I was talking about. Concerning Takina, a few solo raid back. If you have Takina and she is properly built, hopefully without too much attack, because her skill 1 will make so that she ends up with too much attack, unironically she can take the buff from Miranda away so that Ada can no longer just crit every single hit, thanks to the 85% crit rate buff to the highest attack unit, which means our damage will drop like a rock. So if you don't have both of these built, like, properly, just don't even bother with Takina. It literally will only serve to screw you over. So, yeah. This is the hardest team of the group. If you do it with Takina, it is so much harder and actually somewhat RNG, because your cover will matter. And honestly, that actually is still a problem even with Nayuta. Your cover is finite. The boss can murder you in the second part of the fight with one move that she does only once. So it is imperative that you don't get screwed over early on. I'll mention it again once we get to that team. Other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory. The maids are here so that Neon does not have to waste too much time reloading. This is pretty important because less reload means you get to take advantage of the firepower gauge more. You get to just keep shooting for the whole full burst once it's fully stacked. Yeah. Here also for the Snow White Cinderella team, I will say if you genuinely struggle with staying alive with the final team, I will mention stuff about that team in a bit. You can actually take Helm and replace Privacy with it. Just burst with Helm every 2 bursts, and you should be mostly fine with no problem. Crown is able to tank almost everything, but apparently there seems to be people who struggle with keeping her alive. I know depending on RNG that can actually be a problem for some runs toward the end. I don't know about early in the fight, but just in case, it's worth mentioning. You can just put Helm here over Privacy, then put Privacy on the Team 3 here, and then instead of Bunny 8, you run Blanc. Your damage will be worse. Be aware, your damage will be worse, but you'll be able to survive the whole way through, so on another team, and the most important team, to be honest. So, yeah. And then this team here is really just like the scrap that you put together. Maiden could be potentially used somewhere else better. To some extent, if this is a big if, well, no, it's not really that big of an if. If you're feeling comfortable, you can actually put Maiden on the team with Cinderella and Snow White to boost Cinderella's damage further. It might actually be better. The thing about Cinderella is that she kind of invalidates a few mechanics. We'll explain that more once we get to that fight. But yeah, because it negates 2 of the more annoying damage-dealing mechanics, and because she's defense-based, and because Rouge heals, that team is very safe, even without a healer, to be fair. So you can technically not use Blanc as well and just use Bunny 8 for more damage. But if you're not feeling like it's safe, fair enough, just use Blanc. It's completely fine then. And then if that's the case, then use Helm in Team 4, and you can also just put Mihara as a non-burst and burst with Helm instead to just keep everyone alive. Because that team is kind of annoying to keep everyone alive. But yeah. And then the final team, Avistar, is unironically worth running. It's hard to have enough buffers that actually do their jobs for every team. So Avistar works really well. And unironically, Avistar plus Anise. Anise's damage is about on par with Neon. But, like, I'm talking about my main's Neon. My main's Neon does about 3.1 bill by herself, I believe. And Anise on my main, who has actually unironically worse overloads, gets fried by, well, not by much. It's like 3.2 bill, I think, for Anise. So, yeah. But the more important part is the damage parts, which is not attributed to a unit ever, so you don't get to really see. But Anise breaks everything, and she's very easy to make it to that point. You don't need to put Neon and Anise together. It will get the job done regardless. If you care about what you need for a Vistar, you don't really need to overload her, to be honest. Overloading will help, because you will have more attack to give to Anise. But really, what's important is skill 1 and 2 being at 10. The burst does not matter. It literally does nothing. And, yeah. Enough talking about this, let's talk about the teams themselves. So, first of all is the Miranda comp. The Miranda comp is going to be very bizarre. Yeah, so Ein and Ada is a no shocker, and same with Miranda. Mermaid is a bit weird, but when you find out that, damn, there's really just no one to pair well as a burst 1 in this team at this point, like, I'm gonna be real, I don't use Litter this raid. I don't use Nayuta is not used in the high levels of this solo raid whatsoever, unironically. Like, and this is why I said that Nayuta is pretty underwhelming, unfortunately. It is what it is. 6 months ago. But I'm using her here because my Nayuta is way more built than Takina, and Takina will not see my custom modules whatsoever for a long, long time. We just don't get enough of them. But the boss will start with an overhead that hits twice on your position 3 character. As you can see, I just ignore it. The thing that's really nice about Ada being on the team is that she will give life steal, she will give true damage boost, and attack boost to whoever got the burst 3 off. So because of this, as you can see, my HP is rapidly increasing, I'm doing nothing, and it keeps critting for 6 million. This is just the feathers doing their jobs. And yeah, so the idea is you just hold your burst, you do not shoot until there's like 1 or 2 seconds left with whatever character is bursting. And yeah, if you have Nayuta, you can just face tank this. If you are using Takina, you unironically have to just, well, cover it. But it becomes a bit iffy because your cover will blow up very fast. Also, the little, not these have to be covered because they stun you, like that. I'm surprised I even kept that run, to be honest. But the blue spears that goes to one character non-stop, that stuff can actually screw up your cover. If Ada is the one that loses most of her cover from the spear, give up, the run's dead, just retry. The problem with basically what happens here is that effectively your cover needs to last the whole big burst of damage a bit after the QTE. After that, you're completely fine. Even if your cover is dead, it doesn't matter. Nayuta will just keep you alive, and so will Ada's vamp effect. But if you don't have that, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. So yeah, as you see, my Ein just does a fuck ton of damage, just doing nothing. And here, you can see Ada doing 6.9 mil more often than not. For the last two, you can just shoot 2 grenades with Ada, or just wait until the circle in the middle is formed to just break all of them at once. It makes no difference. But if you don't have like full burst yet, full charging into the circle in the middle is probably preferable to just get back into burst sooner. This is a move that looks really flashy. What it does is it just ignores cover and also inflicts a dot to your unit. It's not that bad. Here you can see that my cover on Ein is not great, but it should be good enough. And yep, there you go. So this is the attack that's actually a big threat. Unironically, with the overheal from Anchor, my Rappy dies from this. This is an actual attack that actually does damage. No way. It's genuinely, like, the main problem I had with so many solo raid lately. They have, like, this big, cool attack, and it does no damage. Or it just gets healed off immediately. Like, actually get me punished if I fuck up like this, please. Also, did not mention this, but the boss has a core, and the nice benefit of having Nayuta here, which is even more wild that you do not see Nayuta in like any team currently in the top 10. I mean, I'm guessing maybe she's going to make it into a team, but it's like mostly for the healing. Takina is just better in this team. If, you know, everything's properly built. And yeah, here you can see my Ein is doing absurd damage. My Ein is well built on this account, that's the main difference. My main barely did better, and my main has a core 7 Ein. I think Ein here is core 5. But the main difference is that Ein also has 90% elemental here, so that helps a bit. So yeah, this is the most annoying team. You will most likely have to retry a few times, but other than that, it's mostly fine. Next up, Jill and Mihara. This one is mostly annoying to Bergen. The difficulty is mostly fine because Moron can just face tank everything. Since most of everything is targeting the middle position, if you have a good tank character like Moron, it basically gets rid of 90% of the damage. And because of the taunt that Moron has, you don't really need a healer. Obviously you want to cover that. But thankfully, because of the way Burst works with this character, she will always be peeking through cover, so you just have to cover the shots and you're usually fine. Mostly these because these stun. You really don't have to stay covered too long, which is nice. I see, you just completely ignore everything. I do wish Jill was a better unit than she is. The damage at the end is absolutely sad. I don't think my Jill is properly built on this account, but still, bummer. Ideally, you take control of Moron for the QTE because she just one-shots them, as you can see. If not, she two-shots. Ideally, whenever you're using Mary, you want to force a reload when you have 2 seconds left on the burst, and then get a full charge for the next one. I do not pay attention to this because, I mean, it was getting late. I'm recording this at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning because I can't sleep. So, yeah, it is what it is. I was supposed to record this tomorrow morning, but it is what it is. But yeah, after you're done with the big attack, it's really just a case of you have to deal with these, you have to cover these because they stun. Unfortunately, it does this like twice in a row every time. It's annoying, but it is what it is. And then it's just a matter of like trying to prioritize hitting the core because there's a lot of damage in there. The QT needs to be done really quickly if you have a DPS that is not electric. In this case, it's Mihara, so it's needed. Once you have 12 stack, obviously just burst with Maiden, as I just did here. But yeah, this is pretty simple at this point. It's a fun fight. I think Providence is a slightly better boss fight, but this is pretty solid too. The thing that matters is that it's a fun fight. Unfortunately, it becomes a bit of a pushover the second you have Neon and Anise in this fight for hard mode. Cleared it on my ult on my first try with a minute to spare. It is what it is. I cannot imagine struggling on that boss if you have both of them. Which is a bit unfortunate. I mean, it's the same thing with Mirror Container. I think I fought it with 27% deficit and it went down in a minute. Electric is just too good now. Alright, Team 3. Oh, and I'm sure some people are wondering, where the hell are shotguns? Well, the truth of the matter is, you would need an electric unit for that, and there's no good electric character. So, yeah. So, explaining the thing about Cinderella, that's really funny. So Cinderella inflicts, not inflicts, but unleashes a decoy whenever you reach burst 3. This decoy is, well, fitting with the name, doing decoy stuff, and effectively what it translates to is very simple. It means that you don't care. The overhead slash will hit the decoy, and therefore Cinderella is safe. The stab will hit the decoy, therefore Cinderella is safe. AKA, nobody cares. There's nothing of danger from this whatsoever. Which is pretty funny to me. But yeah, since you deny a lot of mechanics, Rouge has the time to actually, you know, stack up the HP heal. So you get to a point where Helm is not exactly required in this team. So you can genuinely consider running something like Christmas Maiden. The problem with Christmas Maiden is you would have to get rid of a Snow White burst. Keep in mind, even with my team being set up the way it is, even with the team set up the way it is, you burst with Cinderella first and then Snow White. It's just because the third position is important for the way the boss attacks, which is, you know, it's cool. It's just a problem with using Rouge, but it is what it is. But yeah, you can see the fight is pretty simple at this point. You just heal a bunch with Rouge. The boss doesn't do enough damage to be a problem, because the main thing that are a problem you deal with. Except this move, which will slaughter your entire team, unironically, most likely, if you don't just cover it. Which, fair enough. Oh, another thing. If you are using this team, I strongly recommend doing what I'm doing. You see me actually full charge all the time, even when the boss is not on screen. The problem with the way the boss is, it will very often just go off the screen and just disappear. The problem with that is that then Rouge does not do enough shot to give you the CDR. That's a problem. Shocker. So as a result, it is better to do this. Oh, and Litter might be better in this fight. I'm not sure, but I do prefer Rouge's heal, and I think that while Litter would be a small, not a small, but she would be a damage increase for Snow White, she is so much worse for Cinderella, it is just stupid. And since Cinderella has, you know, elemental advantage, it is better to just double down on her damage than the overall team's damage, in my opinion. But that is my opinion. Since Rouge gives a fuck ton of HP to Cinderella, it is a much bigger attack increase as a result. And more importantly, it lasts for 10 seconds, not 5. That's genuinely the main issue. So, yeah. That was Cinderella's team. Next up is the Maiden Liberalio. This team is very brain dead, but also annoying if you have the damage. So I won't be able to show it here. However, I will say this. Obviously, the balls, breaking the balls is actually kind of difficult with Neon. If you have enough elemental and attack to do it, you will want to restart until you can break as many as you possibly can. It is what it is. As you can see, like, I get to about, I want to say 70% down. If I had another elemental, maybe 1 or 2 attack lines, maybe a max ammo line, I would most likely break all of them, to be honest. The problem is I don't have that, so yeah, my Neon is not on that level. My ult's completely free to play, so I just don't have as much custom modules as the main does. But at the same time, it's just how Overload works, isn't it? But yeah, to be completely honest with you, Neon works fine. It's just a case of, if you have a really good one, you really want to take advantage of breaking those parts. I don't know why I didn't just burst here. Whoops. Definitely could have gotten an extra burst here. Oh yeah, and then my burst would have lined up with this, so I could just do more damage to the parts. So okay, I did 3 bill, but I probably could do maybe 3.5 bill because everything was no longer like synced up. That's on me. But yeah, definitely could just do better here. You can see just how much damage I'm doing to the parts. This is an easy one to break all the parts in. If, you know, I had enough damage. I just don't. Because he just stays stationary with all the parts, so, you know, as long as Neon is punching him, the parts will break, basically. If you have enough elemental, anyway. It is what it is. I completely fuck up here, but, like, you see how much damage I'm taking. That's with me covering stuff. Like, I covered one or two of the hits. This attack does just an absurd amount of damage. I do think that's good. I do prefer having an attack that keeps you on your toes than just face tank everything. My god. Which has been far too many of them. Yeah, I could have probably lined that up better. Oh well. I think 3.4, 3.5 is possible. But, yeah. It is what it is. As I said before, my main does 3.1 bill. I still have like 60% elemental on her, by the by. But my main is 92% elemental and 38% attack. And it's still missing an attack line. And I'm still missing 2 charge speed lines, so it is what it is. And now the last one, which is the easy one. Anise and Anise. As you can see, the part just explodes. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, it's pretty simple. At this point, you just shoot, 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 ignore everything else. With this move, if everyone has currently a shield from Crown, you can just keep shooting and ignore everything. If not everyone has it, or rather, if, you know, everyone has it but a Vistar, it's fine too. A Vistar does not matter because she will heal herself over time anyway from bursting, so it's completely fine. You don't have to worry too much about it, about her. So, as I said, there are people that will struggle with Crown surviving, apparently. As you can see, I don't struggle whatsoever, but to cover my bases, I'll just say this. If you really struggle with keeping her alive, bring Helm. Bring Helm instead of Privity. Your damage will be worse overall, but you'll survive. Also, my ult did better than my main on this fight because my my overspec Anise is better. Well, my Summer Anise is also better than my mains, but my overspec Anise is slightly better on this account than my main, so that also helps. As you can see now, Crown is kind of in danger, but I should be fine. So yeah, at the end of the day, this version is pretty easy. Also, yeah, do the QTE as fast as possible. It doesn't matter. You have so much time to break the parts, man. Also, you kind of need it for Private D to do more damage anyway, so yeah. This hit here might actually get Crown killed. It has happened to me. But usually she's fine. But, yeah. Pretty simple. And with that, that is everything that I wanted to talk about with this boss. It's a really fun one. I really hope that it's a return to form for Nikke because, my goodness, good music-ish. I have a bit of problem with the song itself, but it's good enough. And also, more importantly, a good boss fight. My goodness. Altaria is a dog water fight on hard mode. It's kind of neat, but the time where the boss cannot take damage should not be this much, and it should just be damage reduction, not a death boost. But, yeah, whatever. It is what it is. Altoria's bad, Black Snake's bad, Gluttony's mid. It's like, there's just been so many bosses. Between 34 and 46, only Egovista is a good boss. It's crazy. Not counting 34 because Behemoth is a good boss. But, yeah. That's all I have to say over all of this, so hopefully that helps some of you people, and I'll see you all next time. See ya!